this. We're about to have our reporters in about 15 minutes with Amber Lyon as well via Australia go in and ask some of the state reps if they support Texas schools banning Christmas cards basically of any type being handed out. Again, that's free individual will to hand out a Christmas card. It's not the school saying, here's our official religion. This is real tyranny, folks. And so they're going to be inside the Capitol via Skype, crystal clear. We're talking to Amber Lyon, award-winning journalist, and has her new book out, Peace, Love, and Pepper Spray, from Australia. This is really the future because they can use all this technology. Here's a New York Times article breaking it down to surveil us and control us. But if we use the technology to empower real media and to take action, there's nothing they can do because there's billions of us and only a few thousand top globalists and a few tens of millions of their minions worldwide. NSA Dragnet includes allies, aid groups, and business elite. I was told by NSA whistleblowers over a decade ago that it's mainly to steal technological information from other companies and give it to globalist companies, not American companies. And the White House has been forced to come out and admit a lot of this to take the sting out of all the info that's beginning to come out. So going back to Amber Lyon. Amber, where are you specifically in Australia right now?
I'm in Sydney.
How incredible is it that you can be in Australia, I can be here in Austin, I've got reporters on the street. I mean, if the citizens start using this and seeing themselves as important, which they are, it's over. Most of the news we end up breaking now comes from our listeners. Mainstream media doesn't even know how to do that. So how are you as a professional journalist, now as a guerrilla journalist, how do you see that fusing together in the future?
Well, are you talking about the ability to use, report news on your cell phone?
Sure, just everything. I mean, what do you see this revolution? I don't see the establishment being able to control it.
No, I don't think so either, and I think they're shaking in their boots. It's quite disturbing for them that they can't control it anymore, and I think Syria was the perfect example of that, and that's where social media spread the truth about what was happening on the ground in Syria, and it spread so rapidly across the tentacles of the web that the elite's narrative wasn't accepted by the public, and the public stood up and said, we're not going to enter. And as far as just social media in general, as a journalist, I always tell journalism students, I'm so jealous of these young journalists just getting into the field right now because they have so much power. All you need to do is set up a website and have just a cell phone camera and take donations off your website, and you can bypass the dinosaur gatekeepers of the media and have your own success. And we've seen a lot of journalists do that as well. One of them who's doing it very well is, not only you, Alex, also journalists who have just taken it into their own hands to create their own entity online. And that used to be nearly impossible because you had all these gatekeepers really controlling the message. So for me, this all gives me a lot of hope because the people are taking back the power, and we're seeing this happen at a rate that cannot be controlled anymore.
You're right. I want to shift gears and talk about free speech with you. Whether you agree with what the Duck Dynasty patriarch said, or whether you disagree or whether you agree. I mean, it doesn't matter for me. The fact is he said it in a magazine interview, and now they've kicked him off the show. And it's the same thing with the Christmas cards. Kids should be able to hand out Christmas cards. That's their personal free speech. And I really see out of the so-called left more and more authoritarianism. I'm just a libertarian. And I see in your book, the story of people on the left and the right being abused. But Are you concerned about out-of-control political correctness, or what is your view on the Duck Dynasty controversy?
Well, I think that any time that someone is censored because of their beliefs, that I don't accept it, especially as a journalist who was censored. You're just seeing the corporate control of the media, and it's really just making it so it's just dumbing down society, because anytime anyone speaks anything politically, they're censored. And,
sure.
And not only that, it sends a chilling effect across all of these shows.
Well, that's right. And it's left, right, center, libertarian. Anything that's pertinent, anything that makes waves, they shut it down. And they can say, well, we own the printing press. Yeah, but they got it through fraud, through collusion, and it's so centralized. And then they're trying to create a chilling effect, like with you. I mean, you exposed war crimes, and then they blocked it, and then you learned they've been paid off.
Exactly, and that was very disturbing for me as a journalist, because at one end of the building, my crew and I were risking our lives to expose this brutal regime, and then at the the other end of the building, CNN was taking money from them in exchange for producing these positive programmings that made the regime look look like they were democratic and really helping the people, when what we saw on the ground was the exact opposite. And I believe, Alex, that that's happening across the board within the corporate press, especially because after I exposed what was happening at CNN, I didn't get much mainstream coverage, which was kind of, for me, indicative of the fact that a lot of these...
Stay there. We're going to come back and talk about that with our guest straight ahead, Amber Lyon. The INFOWARS crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at INFOWARS. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. New Facebook page, Boycott A&E, Support Free Speech. That's our page. And again, it needs to go viral, ladies and gentlemen. Please like it. Please send it out on your Twitter and on your Facebook account. Everybody needs to do that so we can defend the First Amendment together. And, of course, you can guess who tops Piers Morgan's most 10 memorable moments of 2013. It's yours truly, and it's an interesting article. Notice those cowards admit the highest ratings he's ever had, but won't have me back on. Because it isn't about ratings, it's about control. And so that's some of the articles up on Infowars.com. Going back to Amber Lyon, who was censored at CNN and basically pressured to leave, but she left, I guess, on her own accord. She can remind me if I'm wrong, but I'm going from memory. For going to battle zones and seeing Western-backed regimes killing men, women, and children, she had the footage. It later came out that it was true. And then she later learned that those governments were literally... what was it, $400 and what thousand being paid to CNN to spike your story? I mean, that's incredible. Recap that briefly because it's so important. And then I want to tie it into all the things we see happening today and where you see this going.
Well, CNN never gave, I even requested to get an amount of money that they were getting paid by the Bahrain Economic Development Board, and they never revealed that. I don't know where the $400,000 figure comes from, but as far as my reporting goes, we weren't able to reveal an exact amount, but we did find out that CNN was getting paid by the Bahrain regime, and not only by Bahrain, but by regimes worldwide in exchange for producing positive content disguised as news that they sprinkled into their regular programming with little or no disclosure to viewers, and not only little or no disclosure to viewers, but no disclosure to CNN's own reporters. And so what happened is I had gone to Bahrain to cover the uprising there, and we discovered uncovered some pretty brutal crimes by that regime that's being backed by the U.S. And when I got back to the United States, at first I was able to go on CNN and report on what was happening, and then it became I had more and more red tape go up. It became nearly impossible to get stories on about Bahrain, and our documentary on the Arab Spring and the Bahrain Revolution, which was one of the most damning reports against this regime to date, never aired on CNN International. And after some prompting by executives who wrote me and said that you should investigate this, that something suspicious is going on, we were able to uncover that CNN had been getting paid by Bahrain. Bahrain was a paying customer there for years.
Yeah, I saw a news story where it came out, and that's where I get that memory of where one of those governments, it was 400,000+ for some of the PR stuff. And it's, again, CNN is not disclosing this. And now I see the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on ABC News, the London Guardian, CNN, or on the site it will say, this week on ABC News, brought to you by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But you watch it, it's their whole agenda during the show, never telling you that. And it just shows the propaganda placement is getting worse and worse.
And that was the problem at CNN, is that they have been taking money from Kazakhstan, the Ukraine, Nigeria, Lebanon, Bahrain, and they've been just sprinkling these programs that they were paid by these regimes to create into the regular news programming. So with little or no disclosure to viewers. So the average viewer would probably have no idea they're watching a sponsored segment. And that to me was what I found the most disturbing. Not only that, as a journalist, that I wasn't told that that the regime I was investigating was also a paying customer at the network. And so above all, I think we're having a little bit of a disconnect with these networks, Alex, as to what is true journalism. Journalism is printing what someone else doesn't want printed. Everything else is public relations. And we're just seeing too much public relations now and advertising mixed in the mix, and it makes it very difficult to trust these networks for an accurate picture of what's happening overseas, not only overseas, but
Sure.
here in the U.S.
And I have an article here out of Reuters, superbug bacteria widespread in U.S. chicken consumer group, and that a lot of people are getting sick from it. So if you have some little plant that has salmonella and gets a few people sick, they'll shut it down, but big agri gets to radiate it. They get to spray all these special chemicals on them. And it turns out it's not just governments. Out of the top 100 economies, over 50 of them are corporations, not governments. They're all in there. It turned out with Fox over a decade ago making payoffs and advertising to not let local Fox reporters in Florida do a report on studies of what the synthetic growth hormone was doing to people. I mean, no kidding it was making kids grow weird. No kidding it was making people go into puberty early. And they got shut down. And so it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. I know for a fact that in radio, because I've worked in radio, and when I worked at these stations, you would sign non-disclosure. So it was not me that they were censoring. It was the fact that I just couldn't talk about the news segment because I discovered it and asked. I mean, I was ignorant like 16 years ago, 17 years ago. I'd say, we're paid in the news to have the person read this? That's actually paid? And they go, yeah, and keep your mouth shut. You got a non-disclosure. And I learned that was at all the big news stations. And then they got a huge contract by a state quasi-corporate entity. And then basically they came in, it was the LCRA, Lower Colorado River Authority, and said, we don't want you to ever talk about the LCRA. They're a news sponsor. And I went, well, who are they? I didn't know 16 years ago. Then I looked into them, and it's like basically a mafia. I'm not saying everybody there's bad, but it's a big water grab by corporate interests that get the money. They've had a bunch of scandals. I mean, that's how involved they were. And later I was kind of told, listen, dummy, you're not going to be on the air soon. We're getting other payments. And so later, only years later, did I click, all this state and federal money came in to get me off the air. And I think from doing the research that I was partially taken off my first radio job because of money from the government.
And a similar thing happened to me at CNN. I mean, Bahrain, the actual regime would call the news desk to complain about my reporting. And after repeated calls, I started noticing that it became more and more difficult for me to get stories online. And I was forced to ridiculous statements from this regime that we knew was Gaddafi and Assad-esque. And instead I had to, instead of taking them for what they were, I had to actually include their lies, which included statements saying that protesters were putting makeup on to fake their injuries and fake blood. I mean, I had to include these ridiculous statements into my reporting, Alex. And I believe the network just acquiesced to its paying customer. And that's what we're seeing across the board in the mainstream media. And as long as I've been in the field of journalism and worked for the mainstream, I've been censored at every single job I've had. So I'm a firm believer now it's nearly impossible to do muckraking investigative journalism at these outlets. And that's why it's so important to support the independent media, because they're the only ones able to actually report the truth 100%.
And as that comes out, and as people learn that all these big channels are bought and paid for, and even local news channels are, people are leaving them en masse, so there's a vacuum for people to not go to college to be a journalist. I'm not saying that's a total waste, but you don't have time, folks. Go out, follow it, do the story, report it. You're not going to be perfect. Just get your facts right. We all see through rose-colored glasses from our own prejudices deep down and things, but just stand up for the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Stand up for common sense. Pick issues you're concerned with. Start a blog. Be a photojournalist. Shoot video. Go cover protests. Support the First Amendment. Support liberty. And there's no way they'll stop us all. There's a reason they want to shut down the independent press. There's a reason they want to attack protesters that are peaceful, to create a chilling effect. Because the system knows we've got the moral right. They want to control that. And that's why when you put out a book like this, I think it's self-published, isn't it?
No, it's published by Whitman Press. They were an amazing company who really, they don't normally do political books, Alex. It took a lot of convincing, but at the end
well, I know who they are, so I think they do put out their own books, but I think they also help folks. But that is just fantastic that they did this with you. And so people should get your book to support your ongoing journalism. They should support INFOWARS.com. They should buy our products. They should support everybody. Ron Paul's media operation, Ben Swine, everybody. I'm not in competition with any of these new journalists, whether they be more liberal-leaning or conservative-leaning or libertarian-leaning. If they just tell the truth and promote basic liberty, we're all brothers and sisters in this together.
Exactly, and I think it's super important to support the independent outlets. I mean, that's the best way, I think, to give money if you're about to donate to charity, because that's kind of what journalism has had to become. I mean, we now rely on donations because it is difficult to work for these outlets anymore and to play with the system. And so we've had to become almost like a nonprofit to survive as journalists.
Exactly. And now the fascist Dianne Feinstein wants to restrict everybody else, take away any tax exemption from private groups. Of course, we don't have that, but others. And then the government will decide if you're a journalist and if you have journalistic protection. Give us your take on that movement, fairness doctrine for talk radio. And then we're going to cut to our reporters in the field, Leanne McAdoo and Jakari Jackson, who I know may have a few questions for you. Leanne's going to be interviewing you tonight. And then, of course, you can take the talk in any direction you want. And so give us a preview of what you're going to talk about on the nightly news tonight, a double serving of the intelligent and also, of course, beautiful Amber Lyon with, of course, our reporter Leanne McAdoo. But give us your take on the move to have the government declare who's a journalist and who isn't.
I just think that's ridiculous, because most of the journalists who we're calling journalists are lapdogs these days, not watchdogs. So I consider more of the independent press to be the more real journalists. But the way the government wants to word it, the mainstream journalists would be considered journalists, whereas the independent press would be at risk of as not being considered journalists by the government. So I think it's something that's so changing right now and evolving that it's nearly impossible to define. And I think if you are out there exposing government crimes and writing about it and being a watchdog, you are a journalist. And you don't need a definition. And a definition is only to further make it so that the independent press can be just considered bloggers and potentially face criminal charges or be forced to reveal their sources. And
Amber Lyon, you're not just as important as CNN or as the New York Times. You're more important because you've shown that you got forced out of CNN where you were, a rock star up-and-comer, taking over 3 Emmys. You got forced out for your integrity. You left via your integrity. And so you're not on par with CNN. You're above them. And it shows that CNN's bought off, that they had record viewers for Piers Morgan's history when I was on, and they admitted to me when I saw his producers in Houston that, no, we want you on. The higher-ups have said no. And they said, we want you back on. We want ratings, but we've been told no. So if I failed in that interview yelling at him, no, I didn't. I broke the spell. I said, look, this is all a fraud. You're paid by Big Pharma to put kids on drugs that are making them kill people. The insert says it, Piers Morgan. It says it can make you be a mass murderer. So stop blaming my Second Amendment when if you want to blame anything, it's your sponsors. That's why they're scared to have me back on, even though it's been voted #1 thing of the year. What do you say to that?
Well, it's true. There are decisions being made, and I saw it directly when I was working there, that had nothing to do with the journalistic value or getting viewers. And that was something that I couldn't wrap my head around while I was there, because I would come up sometimes with some story ideas that I knew would really generate a significant audience and had a lot of journalistic value. And those stories were sidelined. And I couldn't quite figure out what the reasoning was, but there are decisions being made there that aren't that have nothing to do with the journalistic value of a story or getting viewers, and that's disturbing. It's who's making these decisions and why, and we saw that with the Occupy movement as well.
That's what we cover here, is if it's important, it's breaking, it affects our liberties. We don't think black, white, old, young, male, female, Christian, not Christian, Muslim, whatever, gay, not gay. We think, is it freedom? Who's the little guy? Is it the system trying to take our rights? And then we go out and report on it. And then, of course, for us, that's exciting. That's exciting to everybody else. And so we're successful. I mean, telling the truth is successful. People want it. Amber Lyon's our guest till the end of the hour. And we're going to go now and get her take on this. Leanne McAdoo and Sha'Carri Jackson are there at the Capitol. They've been doing man on the street out there about Texas making kids not be able to bring Christmas cards to the schools. And we had that report up earlier, and Leanne joins us. Leanne, before you go in after the break and talk to one of the state reps about their view on this, would you like to say anything to Amber Lyon, who you're going to be interviewing tonight?
Well, hello, Amber. Obviously, you had to deal with, suppression of the press, but what do you think about the fact that Texas actually had to pass a law to allow people to just say Merry Christmas or hand out Christmas cards?
I mean, I just think it's a slight overreach, and I mean, it's obvious you guys are reporting on it. It's just ridiculous.
Well, they had to pass the law, but still schools aren't letting kids hand out Christian Christmas cards, or even if it has a tree, they're saying no. And now the school's backed off, but here's a headline today, Newsmax. Christmas trees banned at Texas school called draconian. And I mean, it is a Christian holiday, but it's not even religious to have a Christmas tree. I mean, this is crazy. We're losing all our basic rights. We're losing our Fourth Amendment. We got foreign banks robbing us. We've got our press being bought off by foreign companies and foreign governments. And then they're making the threat, Amber, a Christmas tree.
Yeah. And I think anytime and that's why I'm glad you guys are highlighting this story, anytime we face any infractions on our First Amendment rights, it's just a slippery slope. And so what's going to be banned next? And that's what disturbs me in this situation. And that's why I'm glad you guys are taking the lead in covering this story.
Well, when we come back here in just a minute, they're going to walk into a state rep's office and ask them, and I'm sure they're just going to say no comment. It'll be 1 minute, and then we can come back to you and finish talking about the book. But let me go back to McAdoo here as we have 1 minute till we go to break, and we'll come back with our guest talking about her book, Peace, Love, and Pepper Spray. Leanne, real quick, whose office have you chosen to go in and ask if they support schools violating the state law, not letting people have free speech and hand out Christmas cards?
We're going to go speak with Senator Wendy Davis.
Okay, so and do you have any idea if she's there?
I don't believe so. It looks like everyone's out for the season, so.
But, I mean, is there an aide there you can talk to?
Yeah, well, there's someone there at the front door.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to go to break. When we come back in 3 minutes, we're going to go right to that. And I'm sure we're just pointing out that we know, and then it'll come to the senator's attention last time I read, she was, not supporting the bill to let folks have trees and stuff in public. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, come on, we don't go to other countries and say, well, the majority's Muslim, so you can't have Muslim, days or whatever. It's just ridiculous. Our guest is Amber Lyon. The book is Peace, Love, and Pepper Spray. It's a coffee table photojournalist book, but with also great articles. Everybody should get it. We'll tell you where you can get it when we come back.
Now you can watch the INFOWARS Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at infowars.com/show.
All right, I've been watching live feeds during the break. TV viewers at prisonplanet.tv could see it without the audio. Some guy came up where they were in the Capitol and looked like he said they couldn't be there and directed them into a side office. And look, he gave them hall passes or something. You don't need that to be in the Capitol. I mean, I go in there all the time. I don't get permits to protest either. Jakari or Leanne, what just happened? Leanne, tell us.
Well, they just told us that we need to seek permission to bow before our senators and to get footage.
During our commercial break, Alex, we were out in the Senate gallery, and a very nice gentleman named Austin came over and told us that we need to seek permission to film the Senate gallery. I did inform the gentleman that it's not our intention to film the Senate. Told him we wanted to speak to one of our representatives.
But there is no Senate in session, and you don't need permission. It's a right when it's not in session. Yeah. He's just henpecking you to be your boss, and I don't care if he's polite. Robbing our First Amendment, even though he's doing it polite, isn't nice. What has he now said to you?
He's basically given us the address where we can seek permission to film here and...
Yeah, but notice there's no state police talking. The state police are not talking to you because that's made up. So ignore him and go in Wendy Davis's office. Where is that?
It's right behind us.
All right, go walk in there. My God, or let me talk to that idiot. Anyways, all right, so it's closed, it's gone. We're the press there showing it.
Davis, is anybody available to make a statement on her behalf?
There they are.
How can we get in touch with her? Can we send a call or email? Or I see one of these business cards. Is that the best way?
I mean, this guy literally is just trying to henpeck us out of there. The state police didn't stop him. You don't need, media's in there every day and doesn't get permission. Okay, I'm sick of color of law crud. Let me get Amber Lyon's take on this, 3-time Emmy Award-winning CNN journalist. This is what we're talking about. There is no law. There is no regulation. There is no permission to be in the Capitol unless you're in somebody's private office where he drug them in there. I mean, what do you make of this another bureaucrat? It's not the state police. They know the law. What do you make of the bureaucrat trying to do that?
Well, I think that they're trying to avoid your questions more than anything. And I think that you do have a right to be there, obviously, as reporters. And I'm appreciative of your efforts to actually hold political elites accountable and not become lapdogs like you see at these mainstream press conferences where the press just becomes puppets to the authorities. Sure. I think that your approach is a true investigative journalist approach. And that's when you should be walking up to these officials with a microphone in hand, questioning them about their behaviors.
Exactly. Now, Leanne was going to interview you and tape it for the news tonight. I know you're doing a big speaking tour there. Would you like to take a 30-minute break when this show ends and have Leanne get back and interview you, or do you want it to be David Knight?
It's whatever you think, whatever you prefer. Works for me.
Okay, I mean, so you want to take a 35-minute break or so? She'll get back, and then we'll call you on Skype, and then you can talk about whatever you want with her tonight. They were asking me. I've been asking the questions. I'd like to have you on and just basically cover whatever you want with Leanne. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds great. Wonderful. I can take 30 minutes. I've got time. Okay,
you're very sweet to do that. If not, if not, David Knight's a great reporter. I mean, he'll do the interview too. Just it's up to you. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I can wait for Leanne. That's fine. It's only about 6:50 in the morning here. So
right, we'll get some coffee or take a nap, and then she'll be back in 30 minutes, and then she'll get it fired up and do the interview for the news tonight. Thank you, Amber. Briefly, how do folks get your new book?
Yeah, you can go to peaceloveandpepperspray.com and order the book there. And also, I have special signed copies that really help promote and support my journalism on the site that you can buy as well. So just head to peaceloveandpepperspray.com.
Say it one more time.
peaceloveandpepperspray.com.
All right, Amber, we're going to let you go. We'll call you back in about 30 minutes for the interview with Leanne McAdoo.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. All right, Leanne, closing comments. Are they saying anything else to you there where you try to defend Christmas at the Capitol?
No, they're behind a locked, bulletproof door, and it's standard procedure. It seems to be with the same with the Obama administration. If you're a journalist, if you're a reporter, they just direct you to the White House website to get your talking points.
Yeah, well, you know what he did. He literally just made up stuff to you. Of course, you need permission to talk to a senator, but not to be in the Capitol. So he did that. He did it very politely, but it was an attempt to violate your First Amendment.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. INFOWARS.com.
Judge, what is the secret of the universe?
INFOWARS.com.
And we're building all this, doing all this while broadcasting, while doing the news, while doing the magazine, the films, the commercials, the products to fund ourselves. That's why they've had major trade publications out there like Talkers and New York Times and others say that InfoWars.com and what I've done is trailblazing how to build new media. Now, it doesn't mean I'm even good at it now. Other people with more money and stuff have already gone past us. With audiences and effectiveness. Our message, I believe, is the most constitutional pro-liberty. And I'm very proud of what we've done, but I am not in competition with other journalists and people that are fighting for liberty. If they're not authoritarians and they care about justice and they are not eugenicists, I don't care if they are liberal, conservative, Christian, not Christian, gay, straight, whatever it is. We're in so much trouble with the New World Order, folks. We have to come together for basic freedom. It's about state-run media versus independent media. It's about fascism versus libertarian ideas, as Matt Drudge famously tweeted. And that is what we're dealing with here. And I am very excited that Glenn Beck doesn't attack me anymore and make stuff up and has gotten more hardcore against the New World Order. Because I didn't used to attack him, just because I wanted to. I did it because he'd lie about me and get things wrong. Maybe he's woken up. I'm not in competition with any of these people. I want to make money so that I can build the best news organization out there and protect ourselves and be strong and beat the globalist. I want to win, and we have to realize we need to be ready to win. We need to think like winners and think about taking our civilization back and not think of this all as a foregone conclusion and evil can't be beaten and oh my God, and everybody's an agent and blah, 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 blah. Believe me, I know a lot of good people. I know I'm a good guy. I know I'm for real. I mean, I don't like being a slave. I take it real personal. It's a drug to fight control freaks. It is a drug to be the underdog and beat them. It is a drug. I mean, it is a drug. It is a drug to have 300 people in a protest in Dallas and the last 30 that stay with you get attacked by the police after 4 hours in the rain, and then to take them all into a warm hotel and buy them all hot tea and hamburgers and hot chocolate and stuff. I mean, it's like just goodness is so good. It sounds incredibly cheesy, but that's what it all comes down to. And I just want to commend all of you that have helped us over the years. We couldn't have done this. The station managers, the owners, the sponsors, the listeners, the people praying for us. And I'm trying to live up to everything I need to do and everything I need to be. I try to be a good man. I try to spend time with my children. I try to not, look at other women. I mean, I feel bad when I'm a dirty dog. But I am a good person in my heart, and I know you are as well. And that's what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's those of us that want good. More and more I realize that's what separates from good and evil. There's people that really like evil and corruption. Those of us that don't like it doesn't mean we're perfect. We just don't like it, and we want to reach for the good. We want to make the decision to try to be better people and try to build a better world, and that's where all the blessings come from. So if you're not a PrisonPlanet.tv member, become one. It takes about a minute to sign up with your credit card or debit card. That way you can mail in a check, and over the phone they can give you a code, make one for you or whatever. Yearly memberships, you can get 5 months. It's like 5.3 months free when you sign up for a year during December. And then that membership you can give to 11 people with the same username and passcode. Or you can get a monthly membership for $5.95, and you can share it with 11 people as well. Give it to people in e-cards or in a physical card. Some will watch it, some won't, but that's a great way to wake people up, not fight the crowds, and not go broke. PrisonPlanet.tv. Become a member today, and you can save 5.3 months free off the year right now That's prisonplanet.tv, and the nightly news is coming up 7. I'll be on this Sunday. Visit INFOWARS.com and prisonplanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.